Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing in this now moment with this beautiful day energetically. I just want to do a quick energy update, and I just uploaded a video into, I'm just going to go into my energy update because I don't have a lot of space on my phone. I've got to get a phone upgrade. Speaking of upgrades, let's talk about upgrades for a moment. I'm just rolling right into it. So this weekend we had a lot of solar activity. I've been talking about the solar activity a lot. You guys might have looked at my solar flare inflow video, and that was a woo doozy with energetically speaking. I shared a post this morning on my Instagram, I think from Cosmic Gateway. I can't remember, but they've got an 8 cosmic gateway in their Instagram. What do you call it? ID or tag or whatever it's called. Either way, they had a really great post on what does that look like when you get a solar flare? What does it feel like? And so I shared that with everybody on Instagram. Because one of the things that I've been getting messages about is everything. When we have these, it's like we get lifted up, and then sometimes it can feel like we get dropped down again. And then we still have all that information that we had when we got lifted up, and then we get grounded or anchored down into the earth, and it's like, ooh, what do I do with this now? This is a lot of stuff. So we're really being called, the word that's been coming up over and over again is integrity. And I was playing with this word. I do a lot of videos with my friend and sister Candace. We did not do a video. Usually we're trying to do one every Sunday at like 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But this particular weekend, we chose not to. I don't know if she did a live on her own, but we were both really exhausted. And that's kind of good, just recognizing in integrity, recognizing when there is an energy leak, for example. So we kind of played with the word a little bit, and that's been one of those, I don't know what you call it, when everybody's using that word, right? Like for a while, everybody's using the word 100%. Everybody's using the word basic. All these words that ripple out and seem to be used a lot across the internets. Integrity is one of them. And I'm always called to remind everybody to play with those words. Yet we still have to maintain some sort of integrity in our container so that the words aren't misrepresented completely. There still has to be a certain amount of integrity for the base signature frequency of language. Does that make sense? I know I'm kind of just playing with this here a little bit, rolling with it, so to speak. So integrity means upholding perhaps our principles. Maybe it means ethics or morality. We could look at it having morals and ethics is showing our integrity. But from another perspective, integrity also represents the ability to maintain composure or perhaps the foundation of something. So if a container, for example, has holes in it, or the building has lack of integrity in its structure, it starts to break down. And so that's the word I've been kind of playing with a lot lately. What does that represent for me? Where in my own container, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, or my perspective, I could go on and on, which container am I referring to that I hold something within, whether it's a belief, something in my own physical body, an emotion, whatever it might be, a relationship. Where is the lack of integrity, perhaps, that maybe needs to be addressed? And when I say addressed, I also play with that. An address is when you focus on it, you talk with it, you look at it, you spend attention to it, you address it. But from another perspective, it's your address, it's your home base frequency and signature. It holds a number code, a geometry, if you will, in which you call home. So where is the integrity in my address? How am I addressing others? How am I addressing my own self? And where in this container am I perhaps leaking energy that maybe needs to be addressed so that I can feel comfortable in my skin, in my home base? And how can I create more integrity in my structure, in my flexibility of my structure? Because then that reminds me, of course, of, in California, you need to have flexibility in some of the structures. Otherwise, being too rigid can force or can cause the loss of integrity in the building. So these are all things that I've been invited to kind of play with during these, I'm playing with the words, these sun codes that are being dialed in to our infrastructure. Now, if I play with that, I hear infrared, infrastructure, into the red, code red, and that, of course, brings me to the root, the root chakra system, the roots that are our foundation, right? So there's so many different ways that we could play with this, but as these frequencies come in and give us the gift of acceleration, and if you look at that word, accelerate within, acceleration at the ion, right? The higher rate to excel, we're being invited to seek out our own integral abilities to morph into, and I hear Morpheus, see through, adapt. That's another word that's been coming up for me, which is adaptability, right? How quickly are we able to adapt to these codes, these languages, these subsets within our reality? And I did a video a while ago on subsets, and subsets are circles within a circle within a circle. So funny, I'm seeing 333, and my dreams the other night were saying that we were going from, it was all about the threes. Instead of the die, it's the try. And that's something else that's been coming in for me to look at and explore. So it's challenging for many of us to stay in this high vibrational space and stay with an integrity, meaning make sure that our foundation is holding the right amount of space. And I could go into so many different layers and levels there. Because there really is, what I'm hearing is a spin density. All right, I'll just go into flow. I'm kind of in flow. I'm giving a background as to what I've been experiencing in the last week to 2 weeks. And I want to also share, there's a lot of planetary alignments and conjunctions. Again, I'm not an astrology person per se, play on words. But as I'm saying this, I see in my rear view mirror two things. A giant red ram. I hear red rum. Woo! Let's get our shine on, you guys. If I go down that rabbit hole, sometimes it's difficult to pull back out of it when we have to have normal conversations with our brothers and sisters throughout our day, which I'm still required to do with the commitments that I make, even in my healing work, but which I'm headed to go do right now. But Mars, Ram, Mars, Ram, red, the red planet, the root, fear, security. And as I was, I'm seeing references to Jupiter and Mars right now. Isn't there a song? Oh, harmony and understanding. The age of Aquarius. So there's a lot of planetary alignments. Couple people, I'm just going to give a quick, if you guys haven't checked out Quirky Cosmo, Carrie, my other sister and friend, she is really great, a great source of astrology and fun things to kind of be aware of in our reality. She has a lot of fun posts about, she does some type of sidereal astrology. I also watched this cool video the other day. I didn't watch the whole thing. They got off, speaking of sidereal, they got off on a side rail that I wasn't interested in exploring. But that guy, the Leo King, you can go on Cafe Astrology and put in stuff. It's all just kind of fun to play with and fun to know, because then it helps us to understand sometimes why we are feeling what we're feeling. Not to use that as an excuse, but to make the appropriate adjustments sometimes. It's kind of like when I share, oh, guess what? We're having a solar flare, or it's a full moon, right? Then sometimes it makes us feel just that much better in recognizing there's more than as within, so without. Everything is connected. It helps us to connect the dots, which when I say connect the dots, I see the stars as the dots, right? And again, it's not something I'm educated in, but I feel it, right? The universe is speaking with us in all ways. Now, as I say Mars and red, the red planet, I'm hearing dwarf star. I also recognize there were some major things going on with Sirius this weekend, just because of what I was feeling coming from that star. Not because I'm looking any of it up. I didn't hear anything about Sirius. But for me, I was getting downloads from Sirius, one of my homing planets. Or star systems, excuse me. Okay. Also, as I'm sharing this, I'm recognizing that I'm using all of my senses to be aware of the heightened awareness that we are all being activated in right now. I think Daniel Scranton had done a video recently, and he had channeled the Arcturians, which I really enjoy, Daniel Scranton. And the Arcturians, and they had said something along the lines of, we're sending you what you're asking for, but you have to raise your frequency enough to receive it. And I really wanted to kind of add to that and to piggyback off that to say, not only to raise our frequency, and that doesn't mean, I've done so many videos on this, it's not always sunshine and rainbows and acting as if everything is fine. It's acknowledging when things aren't, so that we can process and integrate them. It's also recognizing. So sometimes it's just us stopping and smelling with our senses our coffee, the flowers, recognizing we're seeing something different than we used to see a week ago. For me, I see new signs all the time, even though I drive around and maybe never noticed those signs before. So using all of those is part of us raising our awareness. And I don't know if I said this in the beginning of the video, but I'm going to come back to that. I'm probably running out of time on here, but it's about us raising our awareness. So we often hear the words integrity, we hear the word vibration, frequency, raise our frequency, awaken, be awake. Many of us are awake at this point, but just because we're seeing things that we maybe didn't see before, are we aware of what those things, synchronicities, people, stories are activating within us? And you guys can't make this stuff up. I'm seeing literally, I'll have to look at that later, a crystal lattice work. It looked like a pentagram. No, a pentagon. I know, I was supposed to study these shapes, and I don't always. Another one that to be aware of is Robert Ward Grant, if you haven't checked him out on Instagram. Candace Coe, I guess I'm doing some shout outs here. Really just fun, like being aware, feeling what some of these beautiful star seeds are presenting for us. Did I say Cosmic Gateway? she had a really great, or he, I don't know if it's a he or she, but they had a great solar kind of sharing of what they feel like when the sun gives us these activations and downloads. But being aware of that is part of what raises our frequency and raises our vibration. Because then sometimes it pulls us out of going, oh, I'm so tired. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm having these, I really want to make this a 2-part video, so maybe 3-part video. I'm having all of these ahas, but why? And then it pulls us out of our frustration. Sometimes it pulls us out of our other layer, and it pulls us into a greater awareness of more. That's it. And then that gives us the space, or gives us the ability to feel into the integrity of our container, and then open to the fullness of being able to feel into what's being offered, if that makes sense. And I could go into so many different directions with this. But this then allows us to direct our flow and to recognize where the flow is being directed. So for the collective right now, much of the flow is being directed to the root chakra. Mars has to do with war, but it's not all negative, right? There are positive things that happen when we're stirring up those feelings of insecurity and root issues. It helps us get to the root and get out of complacency. It helps us get to a deeper base frequency, right? To get down into those deeper depths, to find out, well, why am I feeling insecure right now? Why am I feeling frustration, lack, anger? What inner turmoil or conflict is being stirred up right now within my own beingness, within my own space, my own container? And this shows where I am lacking in integrity. And this isn't necessarily morality or ethics. This could just have to do with frequency adjustments. So where do I need to make this adjustment to help stabilize this, integrate this, process it? And I always say it comes back to acknowledge and or recognize, recognize, be aware. So becoming aware and acknowledging that awareness, recognizing, gives us then the ability to process or integrate and move into stabilization, stability, integration, right? Opening to the activation, or actively and cognitively. I think my phone just died.